During a cold night in January 1943, USS Growler, a Gator-class submarine, prowled the Pacific in search of prey under the command of Commander Howard W. Gilmore. The submarine had already earned a fearsome reputation for sinking several Imperial Japanese Navy ships while surviving several hunts, but this mission was different. Growler was deep in enemy territory. Stealth was the only option. Under Gilmore, Growler and the crew were on an uninterrupted streak, and the Japanese were looking to strike the submarine down, whatever the cost. As Growler crept through the darkness, a Japanese ship loomed ahead, and the seasoned submariners prepared for a swift attack, awaiting Gilmore's orders. But chaos broke loose almost instantly. The Japanese ship spotted Growler and reversed course to attack it without hesitation. Always calm and resilient, Gilmore made a split-second decision. It was too late for evasive maneuvers. Standing on the bridge with other officers, Gilmore sounded the collision alarm and ordered his men to brace for impact. Under his orders and the widening eyes of his officers, the submarine surged forward at 17 knots, ramming the enemy vessel with all her might. The impact was catastrophic, throwing the crew off their feet and damaging both vessels. But there was no other way out. Gilmore knew it was that or facing the depth charges in a fight he could not win. As the men on the bridge tried to get up and scrambled into the submarine, gunfire abruptly erupted from the Japanese vessel. Sailors and officers went down like sitting ducks. Even in the chaos, Gilmore's resolve never wavered. He knew the enemy was preparing the depth charges. He was heavily wounded and still on the bridge, yet he issued one last command to save his sailors and his ship. Quote, "Take her down." Named after a fierce species of fish, the Growler, this United States Navy submarine lived up to her namesake with a legendary war service that comprised 11 patrols against the might of the Imperial Japanese Navy in the Pacific Theater. USS Growler III, designated SS-215, was commissioned on March 20th, 1942, at the Electric Boat Company in Groton, Connecticut, where it quickly became a symbol of the Navy's growing prowess in undersea warfare. As a Gator-class submarine, a design that represented the culmination of years of submarine development by the Navy, Growler was a powerhouse envisioned to traverse vast distances in the Pacific to disrupt Japanese supply lines and naval operations without being detected. Her propulsion system allowed for a range of 11,000 nautical miles at 10 knots, enabling her to undertake long patrols in enemy waters, avoiding detection by Japanese fighters and surface vessels. Overall, Growler III measured 311 feet in length, with a beam of 27 feet and a draft of 17 feet. She had a surface displacement of 1,525 tons and a submerged displacement of 2,424 tons. To accomplish her role as a stealth hunter, she was powered by 4 General Motors Model 16248 V16 diesel engines, coupled with electric motors for submerged operations. This allowed her to achieve a top speed of 21 knots on the surface and 9 knots when submerged. Furthermore, Growler's pressure hull was built to withstand deep dives, allowing her to evade enemy depth charges by diving beyond the effective range of the explosives and remain hidden until it was time to strike. Gilmore's crew, led by seasoned sailor Lieutenant Commander Howard W. Gilmore, comprised 6 officers and 54 enlisted men. The living conditions aboard were cramped, with crew members sharing bunks in rotating shifts, known as hot bunking. Despite the light quarters, the crew maintained high morale when they finished training in May 1942 and set sail for its first combat patrol in June. And with good reason. Growler III was equipped with the advanced SD air search radar and the SJ surface search radar systems that allowed her to detect and track enemy ships and aircraft, even in the dark of night or through thick fog, as well as underwater threats such as mines and submarines. On July 5th, while operating in the area of the frosty Aleutians, Commander Gilmore spotted 3 Japanese escorts departing Kiska Harbor and abruptly called the crew to battle stations. The crew trusted their captain and ship and prepared for combat, each sailor frantically running to his assigned position. Growler, armed with 10 21-inch torpedo tubes, 6 located at the bow and 4 at the stern, was a force to be reckoned with. especially considering her 24 Mark 14 torpedo arsenal. Commander Gilmore left the freezing bridge and returned to the ship. As the stealthy hunter approached the three boats, he realized they were no escorts, but three heavily armed Japanese destroyers. Gilmore did not hesitate. Growler went to the depths for a submerged torpedo attack and then resurfaced. She approached the enemy at slow speed, in complete silence, just in case the Japanese were maintaining sound watch. The commander then roared, quote, "Fire a spread of torpedoes." Each torpedo found its mark, striking Asashio-class Kasumi and Kagero-class Shiranui, which lost her bow. As chaos erupted, both ships were knocked out of action, but the fight was far from over. The third destroyer, Arare, prepared for combat, scanning the ocean to target Growler. Gilmore and the crew immediately fired 2 more torpedoes and prepared to dive. The first one missed the target, but the second struck true. Gilmore's crew impatiently awaited orders to fire another salvo when they heard 3 heavy explosions and 53 lighter ones. They had sent Arare to the depths, but in their last breath, the Japanese fired 2 torpedoes. Growler descended deeper, escaping from the 2 enemy salvos, swishing down on each side. As Growler departed the combat zone, the surviving Japanese ships approached the sinking Arare to rescue her crew. The unscathed Growler 3 and her victorious crew began her second patrol in August 1942 in the waters off Taiwan. After surviving a brutal depth charge attack while stalking a 10,000-ton Japanese passenger freighter, Commander Gilmore wasted no time in striking back. He ordered 4 torpedoes launched at the ex-gunboat Senyo Maru, scoring 2 direct hits and sending the vessel to the depths. Days later, Growler struck again, sinking the 5,866-ton cargo ship Eifuku Maru with lethal precision. His brave sailors now venerated Gilmore. They were on a streak, surviving every encounter without a scratch. On the morning of September 4th, Growler's 4-inch 50-caliber deck gun, mounted forward of the conning tower, roared in action, turning off an enemy sampan with 60 rounds. Mere hours later, the crew spotted the 4,000-ton supply ship Kashino and prepared to sink it. Like a shark, Growler slowly submerged until she disappeared beneath the waves, and Gilmore ordered the men to fire 4 torpedoes, 2 of which struck the target. A large explosion shook the waters, and the ammunition ship went down in over 2 minutes. 3 days later, Growler kept her streak, sinking the 2,204-ton cargo ship Taika Maru after firing 2 torpedoes that broke the vessel in half, sending it into darkness in less than 2 minutes. Despite Japan's frantic efforts to hunt down Growler with multiple patrols, Gilmore's tactics kept his submarine 1 step ahead, slipping away to patrol the Pescadores Channel off Taiwan. On September 13th, Growler's stealth approach paid off when she spotted a convoy of 7 freighters and a destroyer. Gilmore ordered 4 torpedoes fired at the convoy, and while explosions echoed through the water, the extent of the damage remained unknown due to the presence of enemy patrol boats. Opting for stealth over a risky surface battle, Gilmore skillfully maneuvered Growler to periscope depth, avoiding detection and ensuring the submarine's safe return to Midway on September 23rd. The top brass praised Gilmore's aggressive leadership during this intense and successful second war patrol. Growler was then fitted with an upgraded surface radar and armed with a powerful 20mm gun before leaving for her third war patrol in late November 1942. Although morale was high, Growler ended her tour in the Solomon Islands empty-handed. The submarine sighted plenty of ships craving to be sunk, while the Japanese Navy supplied its ground troops engaging the Marines at Guadalcanal. Still, a broken crankshaft forced Gilmore to end the patrol and return to Australia to see it repaired. Gilmore and his crew spent the rest of the month on friendly shores, celebrating Christmas and relaxing before their 4th patrol began on New Year's Day, 1943. On their way to Rabaul, Commander Gilmore led USS Growler into action again, targeting an enemy convoy's lead ship. With precision and lethal intent, Growler unleashed 2 torpedoes that tore into the 5,857-ton cargo ship Chiefki Maru. The impact was devastating. Chiefki Maru listed heavily to port before sinking stern first into the depths. Fortune was favoring Growler and her crew once again, but not for long. As the Japanese convoys, destroyers, and aircraft responded with a barrage of depth charges and bombs, Growler shook with every detonation. Yet, under Gilmore's calm and decisive command, the submarine skillfully evaded the gauntlet, slipping away from the chaos and surviving to fight another day. The following weeks were full of action, but Growler only managed to damage enemy ships and not sink them. Still, these scores were a blow to Japan's shipping. On February 7, 1942, Gilmore and the crew sighted a large prey near the Bismarck Islands and prepared Growler 3 for a swift attack. Night engulfed the ocean, and the Predator could not be seen by her prey. The agile submariners assumed their battle stations, excited to score another victory alongside their fellow captain. Keeping his head cool, Gilmore analyzed the situation from the bridge alongside other officers and sailors. The cold, fresh air calmed the men, but the stillness of the night was abruptly torn to pieces when the 900-ton Hayasaki sighted the Gator-class submarine and reversed course to attack. With the enemy vessel coming in fast, Commander Gilmore made a split-second decision, ordering the left full rudder and sounding the collision alarm. The captain thought there was no other way to do it, ordering the crew to directly ram the enemy, while Growler was moving at 17 knots. The impact was brutal, striking the enemy ship head-on between the bow and bridge. The force of the collision violently tossed Growler's crew, sailors colliding with each other and falling to the ground inside the vessel. As chaos erupted, the Japanese crew opened fire with machine guns, and the men on the bridge became sitting ducks. Gilmore was fatally wounded, alongside Ensign William W. Williams and lookout Wilbert F. Kelly during the initial machine gun bursts. Despite the damage, Gilmore focused on the safety of his ship and crew. He yelled, quote, "Clear the bridge," sending Lieutenant Commodore Arnold F. Shade, the executive officer and the quartermaster below, dragging 2 wounded men with them. Realizing that his injuries prevented him from getting below deck in time, Gilmore made the ultimate sacrifice. He issued his last order that would immortalize him forever. He turned at the enemy and shouted, quote, "Take her down," ensuring Growler's survival. After a brief moment of hesitation, Shade, with a pounding heart, followed his captain's final order, closing the hatch as the enemy's machine guns continued to spray the bridge until it was submerged. This selfless sacrifice led to Gilmore's posthumous Medal of Honor, becoming the first of 7 U.S. submarine commanders to be honored during the war. Gilmore's sacrifice saved the crew, and his men, wounded by the loss of their beloved captain, sought revenge. Growler, now under the leadership of Shade, took the ship to Brisbane, where it was repaired, and the crew rested, mourning the loss of Gilmore. The Australians who repaired Growler adorned the bow with 2 little kangaroos, giving Growler her nickname, the Kangaroo Express. Growler's next patrols were less uneventful, with the crew sinking other ships while operating with other wolf packs. But Growler was not the same since Gilmore's last command. On her 11th and final war patrol, Growler joined forces with USS Hake and USS Hardhead in the contested waters of the South China Sea. The Wolfpack detected an enemy convoy and prepared for a strike. As Growler closed in, the submarines flanked the convoy in a coordinated assault. But after that command, the radios fell silent. No one ever heard from Growler again. A short time later, USS Hake's war diary recorded the ominous sounds of 2 explosions of, quote, undetermined character, while the enemy convoy suddenly zigzagged away from Growler's position. USS Hardhead's crew also reported hearing a torpedo explosion, followed by the menacing rumble of 3 depth charges, which they figured came from the other side of the convoy. Undeterred, Hake and Hardhead continued the assault, sinking the 5,300-ton tanker Mane Maru and enduring a relentless 16-hour counterattack with some 150 depth charges raining down around them. When the battle ended, Hake and Hardhead desperately tried to contact Growler, their signals echoing unanswered in the void. For 3 days, they searched in vain. To this day, naval historians still debate the disappearance of Growler. Some argue it was the Japanese destroyer Shigure and the escort vessel Chiburi who sank the submarine. Others state that Growler's fate was sealed by one of her torpedoes going rogue in a circular run. Although the mystery remains, USS Growler is remembered today for Gilmore's Medal of Honor, the ship sinking 15 vessels or 74,900 tons, and the damaging of 7 ships with 34,000 tons during her 11 war patrols.